As of January 12, 2023, I've seen all there is to consume of the Tenchi Muyo franchise. At least the most essential entries, that is. This is all 5 TV series, all 3 movies, the OVAs, and even non-Tenchi related spin-offs that apparently exist in the Tenchi Lexicon. I know a lot of you guys out there love Tenchi. Me personally, I don't really like Tenchi. You know, there's something to be said about a franchise that still garners enough interest 30 years after it airs, to the point where there are still new anime that come out for it every few years. There's even more to be said when you think back and almost choke at the fact that it appealed so well that it found its way onto the most impactful Western anime platform of all time, the Cartoon Network toonami block. Smack dab in the middle of Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon runtimes.
Tenchi Muyo, starting Monday, July 3rd.
Now stop that!
Plus, there's only toonami.
A lot of it has to do with the art and animation being ahead of its time. A lot of it had to do with the fantasy action elements, the absolutely astounding soundtrack, character designs. But of course, the main reason we all love Tenchi is because of the character personalities and how they perfectly nailed the dynamic of interaction between all of them. And of course, seeing this little dude have all these women thirsting after him. There are so many different variations of Tenchi series, and they have transcended multiple eras of anime. But which ones are worth watching? Per usual, we'll look over the entire history of Tenchi, the good, the bad, the blasphemous, and I decided to only spend elapsed time on the main heavy hitters from the series that most people wonder if they're worth tossing on the plan to watch list. Hopefully this video doesn't go on too long, but if it does, then watch some of it now and watch the rest when you get a chance. The foundation for Tenchi Muyo is different from other franchises that we get into, where it started from a manga or a light novel. Nope, we jump right into the cream of the crop off rip with the release of Tenchi Muyo Ryoki from September 25th, 1992 to March 25th, 1993, spanning 6 OVA episodes. Before I continue, there's a few different pathways that one can get into Tenchi. All series pretty much stand alone on their own, so you can watch whatever you want to watch randomly, or you could watch it in the release order, but then there is technically a timeline of the universe, the chronological order. Me personally, I chose to work my way through from release order starting in 1992. Anyways, yeah, this masterpiece, the first OVA, is literally a perfect gumbo of everything an anime fan loves. Slice of life, romance, harem, action, and even a hint of adventure. One of Tenchi's ancestors stored a demon away many moons ago with a sword. Yeah, we've heard this all before, right? This demon is sealed in a cave somewhere in the woods where Tenchi, his father and grandfather lived, and a mysterious Tenchi sneaks over there one day against Gramps' orders to fulfill his curiosity. You know, from a lifetime of watching anime, cartoons, and other dopamine-stroking fiction, I can confidently tell you that it's never a great idea to withdraw a strange sword from where it's been lunged. Told you. Alright, well, sometimes it works out. This then releases a millennium-old demon, the sexy Ryoki, and things progress towards the climactic final battle with Kagato. Now, this OVA right here from AIC is the sole reason why most people are Tenchi Muyo fans. It looks amazing even 30 years later, and it didn't overdo it with the harem. The soundtrack is absolute perfection. It's a well-balanced and strongly executed production. The only problem with it is that technically the 7th episode is a standalone OVA called The Night Before the Carnival, but it nibbled off the heels of the previous episode and often is promoted as a part of the Ryoki first OVA. It kind of kills the continuity because, you know, after the battle it regresses things back to the house with all the women fighting for Tenchi, and Not much going on the action side after a climax, but it's still a very strong episode. So after this was a rare laserdisc only picture drama called Tenchi Muyo Ryoki Haiyan Muyo picture drama. It's like 10 minutes long. Technically it came before the last episode of the first OVA, but who really is gonna stop that to peep this? So you can check this out after the first OVA. A completionist like me, I had to look at it, but trust me, you really don't need to. So after the first OVA and its success, it wasn't too long before the franchise narrowed down to focus on a couple specific characters from that OVA. The first one was Mihoshi, a 27-minute special episode about one of her wild escapades. Not much to it, she's kinda retarded, right? But it starts off with the typical Tenchi Muyo stuff, with the gang all around encouraging and engaging in gags until someone challenges Mihoshi's work ethic as a space officer. And she contents it by breaking down a story of one of her most legendary bust downs that she was responsible for. It supposedly went down in space galaxy history. I think most people would appreciate this OVA, but I mean, if you want to skip it and just keep to the most important things, then yeah, you don't really have to watch it. The next Tenchi release to follow was the sequel to the original OVA, Ryoki second season. Now, the second season maintains the energy of the last few episodes of the first one by keeping it mainly a slice of life. Couple cool episodes in there, but nothing matches the vibe of the first OVA. In this one, you can find stories like the cast taking care of a baby and the debacles that come with that, right? An episode about carrots, a mud monster. I mean, these were my thoughts until the end of the third episode. And then you can see why a lot of people hold up the two OVAs together in regard. It does climax and it does get pretty good. Oh yeah, my final thoughts on these is that the soundtrack is some of the best music I've ever heard in my life across any genre, across any medium. I mean, you're hearing some of this in the background, right? Anyway, yeah, Tenchi Muyo Ryoki OVA 1 and 2, the classics. Alright, now we're going to talk about our true, tried, breakout character from the Tenchi Muyo franchise, and that is with Maha Shoujo Pretty Sammy, the OVA. Now let me speak on Sasami for a second because she's the one that stood out drastically from the Tenchi medium. You'll see as the video progresses, she pops out with her own entries more than anyone else in the series. I'm not sure if that's some pre-Moe energy going on or whatever, but really people gravitated towards Sasami, and her brand ended up expanding throughout the franchise. As far as this OVA goes, it's cool, it's not the greatest thing in the world. It kind of sets up for something that we'll talk about later on, which was more vast. But still, it came in a collector's set with the Mihoshi special in one DVD set that I have right there. And yeah, that's all I really have to say on that one. Okay. If you ever want to see a perfect example of an astronomical budget difference between an OVA or movie and its correlating TV series, Tenshi Universe is the epitome of this. A 26 episode run, and as you can see, landed itself in the West and found its way onto the Toonami network back in the summer of the year 2000. Lord have mercy, that is an old logo. To me, this is a pretty big deal, man. It ran about 4 times back to back until summer 2001. And like I said, there is a drastic difference in production quality and the animation and all that, and the thematical element is slightly less profound than it is in the Ryoki OVA. On top of that, despite being based on the original OVA, the actual story of Universe isn't canon, and it takes liberties in how things come together. In the first 3 to 5 episodes, pretty much every main character was introduced in a different way than we saw in the OVA. That being said, Universe is still a solid entry, and I gotta go as far as to say from this point forward, spoiler alert, there really isn't any highly enjoyable entries in the main Tenshi brand past this point in the video. Now, what I enjoyed about Universe that kinda lacked in Ryoki is how much more adventure was able to be fleshed out due to more time. There was a lot to experiment with the gang getting the hell out of Tenshi's house, and actually going out into space and ending up on different planets. 1996 saw the Tenchi Muyo franchise's first motion picture. Something weird starts happening to Tenchi, and Washu quickly discovers that something had gone wrong with Tenchi's mother in the past and will alter history, making Tenchi's existence obsolete. So the gang goes 26 years back in time. The thing about this movie, it's kind of weird, and I'll just let you watch it. It is kind of weird. But it's Tenchi Muyo. It's Tenchi Muyo in a motion picture kind of setting, so check it out. Next up, we have Magical Project S. Remember a couple entries back when I told you I was going to talk about Sasami getting a more vast version of her OVA? Well, this is it. Someone up at AIC thought it was a good idea to flip this OVA into an entire TV series. So the same year as the first motion picture was the vomitingly under-budgeted and strange this even exists, Magical Project S. There's not too much to speak on with this, though it's actually not as bad as you would think. Actually, if you're a really die-hard Mahou Shoujo enthusiast, you probably even enjoy it more than the average person. The last 7 episodes or so managed to salvage my interest enough to not rage quit and scrap this entire video. So, it's cool. It's the same story as the OVA, just expanded, with Sasami being mandated the savior of Earth's peace through being a magical girl and all of that. Yeah, it's cool, man. That being said, this has to be my favorite opening theme of anything in the Tenchi Muyo Lexicon. This opening is just, Whew. This next series was initially supposed to be a direct sequel to Tenshi Universe, but evolved into being its own thing. The black sheep of the franchise without question, Shin Tenchi Muyo as it was called in Japan, sends our boy Tenchi to school, where he actually gets a girlfriend that's a constant character throughout the series. The other characters are kind of supposed to be doing their own thing, but there's still a connection maintained through a portal that Washu created. Anyways, is it as bad as people say it is? It's funny, I saw someone on Reddit say that Tenshi Universe and Tenshi in Tokyo are cool if you like generic 90s TV anime, and that is actually the best way I could describe both of these to you. It's just that Tenshi in Tokyo doesn't really lend itself to the Tenshi franchise and it goes off into complete obscurity. Everything from the country barnyard ending theme and the less than desirable soundtrack throughout the show, changes in certain character designs, and painfully obvious low provided funds to even work on putting this together. You might even ask yourself, like, why would they make this series in the first place? Out of everything discussed in this video, this is definitely the most goofiest entry of them all. Still, there's a plethora of audience that enjoy this series, so why would I tell you that you won't? You're just gonna have to find out for yourself. By the way, would you believe that this found its way onto Cartoon Network too? So we've made it to our second Tenchi Muyo motion picture, Daughter of Darkness. It's actually the shortest motion picture of all three. I think it's only an hour, and it dropped during the run of the previously discussed Tenchi in Tokyo. Okay, this thing is quite forgettable and could have just been an extra story on one of the OVAs instead of its own marketable production. So a girl shows up claiming to be Tenchi's daughter, but of course she's a demon reincarnated or whatever, and the gang gotta put a stop to whatever is going on. But again, thankfully this thing is only like an hour long, so yeah. There were a few anime that AIC put together to carry the spirit of Tenshi. Actually, they take place in the actual Tenshi universe, but they don't have anything to do with any character in the series at all. The first one that came out was 1997's Photon: The Idiot Adventures. 96 to 97 was a busy year for the Tenshi franchise. With Photon, the animation and art style are a maximization of 90s anime production, also including the soundtrack. It's pretty impressive. If you wanted one thing from this video to watch and aren't interested in anything else, this is worth it as a standalone. It's a 6-episode OVA about this little overpowered kid who's traveling alongside this woman who happens to be in love with him. Actually, they get married. As the story unravels, they take on this galactic emperor psychopath who's playing the numbers game on how many wives he can acquire. and you know what to expect with these sci-fi fantasy stories. The one thing I gotta point out about Photon is that it is extremely diluted with comedy and may be a turn-on for a lot of people. That's what held it back from me really praising it here, but I still found it so enjoyable. Did you know that in the Tenchi Muyo Ryoki universe exists a hentai? Yes, that would be Spaceship Aga Rudder. There was also a PC hentai game that came out in '99 for it, with the story set a year after the anime's ending. Of course, I didn't watch it, right? Yeah, so there's that. Dual Parallel Trouble Adventure. This is what happens when Tenchi Muyo meets the lore of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Dual Parallel Trouble Adventure is easily my favorite of anything that came out of this franchise. Ironically, it's the most odd one out from anything else. It opts out of being an overly comical, immature slice-of-life action and fantasy series for something rooted more in drama, politics, and pure mech action. The story for Dual centers around this kid here who is seeing visions of warfare and destruction. Problem is that these visions are things that are not there. Fortunately for him, it isn't schizophrenia, but unfortunately, this leads to him sent to a parallel world where there's a war going on, and he pretty much gets stuck there to get in the fucking robot. All because of the ill mind of a mad scientist. A cool guy who means well, but a mad scientist nonetheless. Something about this, I have to give a red alert for all my late 90s sci-fi anime heads who missed this. Anything in the vein of Eva, Crest of the Stars, Better Man, Argento Soma, you know what I'm talking about. Dual fits right in there. Just like Photon, if there's anything you want to watch out of this video, if nothing else, check out Dual Parallel Trouble Adventure. Okay, let's wrap the 90s up. Also in 1999 came the third and final Tenchi Muyo motion picture, Tenshi Forever, which was also called Tenchi Muyo in Love 2. It's a sequel to the first movie, Tenchi in Love. It's also called Forever because it was expected to be the final Tenchi release. This movie, it was quite forgettable and a little bit off because it's very serious and dramatic in nature. I've seen some people even call it psychological. Tenchi disappears and then we watch a whole game of dimension bending and pseudo love.
You wanna give me all of midnight? With no warning, while I ate an apple today, I realized I'm not a child, and that's the way it stays. I'm looking for a dreary love that's wandered far away. I close my eyes and try to live for today. I really think I love you, oh, but the red moon is watching my every move. I reach out my hand to touch your soft face, you're so close. You know you bring me sadness midnight. Love me, save me. You ought to give me all of midnight. Hold me, love me. I can see deep within your puzzled eyes. My passion's not alone. The sun comes out at midnight. Will you love me midnight?
All I ask from the entertainment I consume is that it entertains me. Is that so hard? It's not that Tenchi Muyo Ryoki third season had awful animation or poor directing or only a plot issue. It's just so uninspired and feels totally uncalled for. This is one of, if not the most hated anime out of the series, and I feel like this is completely justified. They tried spicing things up by bringing a character in for Ryoki that would shake up the dynamic of the harem, but there is no soul in the cast here, and it made it hard to stay motivated to even complete the franchise. Although the last couple of episodes started to lock my attention in for a bit, there's pretty much no point in watching this. Unfortunately, by the time I got to Sasami Magical Girls Club, I pretty much was over it, which is sad because it really wasn't that bad. That being said, it wasn't great either. This is the third and final Sasami spin-off in Tenchi, and technically the final Tenchi Muyo spin-off. It has no actual relation to the main Moyo continuity, except for the fact that Washu and Mahoshi and Masao are used as characters. Beyond that, it doesn't even relate to the Pretty Sami OVA or Project S series either. Unlike the previous two Sasami installments that were Maha Shoujos in the vein of the 90s stuff, Magical Girls Club brings it to the mid-2000s. Instead of just being a magical girls superhero kind of thing, these girls are classified as actual witches, and that's the tone of the series. If you ever seen a show called Magicano or Lyrical Girl Nanoha, this would be a Tenchi Muyo blend of the two. In this one, I appreciate how serious it can get at times, where these girls drift back and forth between the world where the witches roam and the human world, which is a fancy way to say Earth. This is different from what I'm used to from these type of anime. It's not all about waving wands and blasting magic and monsters and lollipops and ice cream. Nah, it gets kinda real. In this series, Sasami, per usual, is born with magical abilities, but her parents prohibit her from using them. When Washu shows up as a teacher at her school, things change. The 26 episodes are separated into 2 seasons, though they aired back to back in 2006, and they maintain pretty much the same opening theme. First half establishes our cast, second half gets more dramatic and solidifies a purpose. Unlike Tenchi Muyo GXP and OVA 3 to an extent, this is the first post-2000s era anime from this list to have enjoyable art and animation. There was solid fluidity of movement, but what stands out the most to me is the excellent choice of hues when it comes to coloring. Oh, and thank you also for an inspiring soundtrack. Man, so beyond the abundance of TV shows and the movies and the OVAs for Tenchi, there also was an abundance of games too. And there's quite a few of them, so let's go over the list here. For the PC 98, you had the Tenchi Muyo Ryoki video game, and that came out in 1994. In October 1995, there was this game called Tenchi Muyo Game Hen, and it came out on the Super Famicom. And there was an English translation that was brought over here, but it wasn't an official one. They tried it a couple times, but there is a Super Nintendo game that you could actually buy for a decent price online and play this thing. I don't believe it's actually official though. And then on the PlayStation 1 in 1996, there's a game called Toko Muyo, Tenchi Muyo Toko Muyo, which is like a visual novel type of game, and it was on the PlayStation 1. Kind of weird. And you better believe that Pretty Sammy had her little video game in 1997. You better believe she got a game. That was 1997. And what do we have here? Right at the top of the year, right back in 1998, she comes again with another game, Heart no Kimochi. That's the second Pretty Sammy video game. But I missed one. In 1997, there was also Tenchi Muyo Rensa Hyoso. And this was just a puzzle game, nothing crazy. As the sun sets on the 2000s and we welcome the 2010s, it was time for this series to do something totally different. But some things, dog, they just don't change. Anyway, what would a long-running franchise be without at least one isekai series? So this kid's name is Kenshi Basaki, and he is our guy Tenshi's little brother. And it's time for him to go on the adventure now. The difference between this and other isekai is that he's already transferred into the world and captured by their government for something that reveals itself as the show unravels. War on Gemini carries the spirit of Vision of Escaflowne, using a hybrid of mecha and knight armor as battle weapons in a fantasy landscape. This is indeed a mecha anime, and it handled the genre quite well actually. Though the polarity of pacing to plot is ridiculously imbalanced, it does feel like the extroverted but serious at times political adventure series needed out of these bunch of shows. Like the entry before, its bulk of value lies in its visual presentation and sometimes cinematic delivery. It's just never a dull moment with this thing, huh? So here's what's up with 2014's I, Tenchi Muyo. It's 50-something episodes long, but 3 to 5 minute episodes of random shorts. So for people that have this dopamine issue where they just constantly need a new hit, this is gonna be something that works for you. Per usual, Washu puts Tenchi in a situation in the name of science and technology, so now he has gone undercover to school as a teacher. An all-girls school for the record. So with that being said, the possibilities are endless. Coming off the solid War in Gemini, this isn't really the greatest comeback after a half a decade. I do enjoy the art and animation, although the character designs have altered a bit. Again, this is another one I just can't recommend to too many people unless you are hell-bent on finishing the entire series. So last and least, I'll do a dual breakdown of Ryoki seasons 4 and 5. First off, I'll just say, outside the original OVAs, this is peak Tenchi animation and a cool soundtrack. It almost reminds me of the 3rd and 4th seasons of the Boondocks, typically how the animation flows and the expressions on characters' faces. Now how else do these two Tenchi and Boondock seasons relate? They are not good. Season 4 and specifically Season 5 try and wrap up the Tenchi Muyo Ryoki canon and lay the foundation for War on Gemini, which by the way is a spin-off that already had come out 12 years prior at that point, so there was no need to do this. And it just doesn't work. If you remember a few minutes back, Kenshi, the protagonist from War in Gemini, the 5th OVA starts following his birth as Tenshi's half-little brother, and part of the context is for him to start training because he's being sent to Gemini. But whatever. Apparently OVA 4 was a big success in Japan, which epitomizes why I feel so disconnected from anime today, because I don't get it. I don't even understand that. Everything that makes Tenchi Muyo is gone from these two, and even the harem element isn't really the same. I mean, you just gotta wonder why they even bothered to do this. Is there even really a demand for Tenchi like that? Hey, it is what it is though. Alright, if you guys are looking to collect, this is how you're gonna do it in timeline release order. Okay, first on the far left we have the original OVA, followed by Mahoshi Special and Magical Girl Pretty Sammy, then Tenshi Universe, the first Tenchi movie, and then we end off the top row with Magical Project S. Then we have Tenchi in Tokyo from 97, the second Tenchi Muyo movie, Photon The Idiot Adventures, and then Dual Parallel Trouble Adventure. Keep in mind this is the release order as far as release dates. Then we have Tenchi Muyo GXP. We have the 3rd OVA release right there from Funimation. There's another Anime Classics version of that. Then we have Sasami Magical Girls Club. And then we have Tenchi Muyo War in Gemini. And then finishing off, we have I, Tenchi Muyo. Seasons 4 and Season 5 for Ryoki has not been released. So guys, if you want to collect Tenchi, this is a good guide on how you can do it for your DVD collection. Alright, what is going on guys? It's Rekka back again from Anime Back When. Happy New Year's to all my fellas and all my chicks over here. It's man, it feels like it's been a very long time since I talked to you guys. It's been almost 4 months since I did that last live stream. I hope you guys liked the video. It took me the entire 4 months to do because I was busy. I was doing a lot, 2 jobs, school and all of that. So I basically just took the time to do that. One job got cut off, so I'm back to being a regular person bringing you guys content. I hope you guys liked that video. It took a long time to do, just finding the energy to watch the stuff, rewatch and watch the stuff and then put together the clips. But listen, I actually have a surprise for you. So if you made it all the way through this entire video, congratulations, because you have just entered yourself into, you still got one more step to do, but you pretty much entered yourself into a giveaway. This is the first Anime Back When giveaway. So what I'm holding here is trying to hold it all together is the entire what I got here, guys, basically is some of my Tenchi collection. So I'm trying to hold it as securely as I can here. But so this is the original OVA. Man, I picked this up in a thrift store, a pawn shop, 2015 November. I replaced it. I got another copy here. So I'm giving away this copy. The three Tenchi movies, Tenchi Muyo in Love, Tenchi Muyo Daughter of Darkness, and Tenchi Forever, Tenchi Muyo in Love 2. And then the complete series of Tenchi in Tokyo. So how you can get this, basically, I want you to leave me a comment down below. What is your favorite Tenchi Muyo entry, or which Tenchi Muyo entry from watching the video are you going to be checking out, or do you look forward to checking out at some point? And then when you're finished doing that comment, I want you to screenshot it, and you're going to go find me either on Instagram. You can DM me on Instagram, or you can message me or tweet me. I'm pretty sure you can message me, but if you can't message me, then tweet me a screenshot of the comment on my Twitter. So my Instagram is animebackwhen, and then my Twitter is animebackwhen_. So I'm going to repeat this. You are going to go leave a comment of your favorite Tenchi entry, or a Tenchi entry that you're looking forward to checking out. Then you're going to take a screenshot of that, and then you're going to go to my Instagram at animebackwhen, or my Twitter at animebackwhen_. And then from there, you know, let me know. And then from there, by the end of February, I will announce who won it and whether you want to be disclosed or not. And one more thing on that, if you do live outside of North America, if you're not in Canada, America, or even Mexico, I am going to ask for a contribution towards the shipping, just because, you know, if you live in, I don't think I have too many overseas people, but if you live in Afghanistan or something, I mean, come on, man. But all of this, you're getting all of this for free. I'm not breaking it up. Like, one person is getting all of this. Okay. So listen, again, thank you so much for making it all the way through this video. Man, Tenchi is something that definitely is a historical thing for me, as far as like how long I've known about it, been into it. And I really hope you got some education on the franchise. I know a lot of people out there like Tenchi Muyo. So anyway, I'm back. Lots of videos to come. Like the video, comment down below. Peace.